Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
And this class is sponsored by Karen Wald, in memory of her parents, Sylvia and Morris Wald. And they have an Aliyah in Gan Eden. This Sunday, what special day is this Sunday?
17th of Tammuz.
Yeah, it's special. It's a fast day. Shiva Asara B'Tammuz, the 17th day of the month of Tammuz. Let's just review some of the things that happened. In fact, 5 things. The Mishnah says, Chamisha Divorim Eru Esavasen B'Shiva Asara B'Tammuz. 5 incidents happened to our ancestors on the 17th day of Tammuz, and that's why it was declared as a fast day. Okay. Now the Mishnah elaborates of the 5 things. Shiva Sabbat Tammuz Nishtabru Haluchos. On the 17th day of Tammuz, the tablets were broken. From the Aseret Dibros, from the 10 Commandments. Moshe Rabbeinu went up on Shavuos time, and he came down, descended from the mountain on the 17th day of Tammuz. And what did he see? What was happening?
The golden calf.
Right. They were worshiping the golden calf. They miscalculated. It seems like when he went up, it was during the day, and they counted that as 1. But when he said it's going to be 40 days, he meant complete days. So really, the following night started the first day. So according to their calculation, the 1 day ahead. So when the 17th day of Tammuz came, where is he? Must have been so they decided they lost faith, because according to their calculation, it would be more than 40 days. It would be like the 41st day. But anyway, because that was the first thing that happened, Moshe Rabbeinu came down and he saw that they were worshiping the golden calf. But there was someone who tried to stop him. According to the Torah doesn't say it, but the Midrashim say it. Who tried to stop Moshe Rabbeinu from breaking the tablets? Yehoshua. Remember, Yehoshua was one who was positioned himself at the foot of the mountain. And when Moshe Rabbeinu descended the mountain, and he noticed that the worshiping golden calf, he was picking up these tablets, he was about to break it, and Yehoshua tried to stop him, but he was unable to. Now, why did Moshe Rabbeinu have to break it? Okay, why did he have to break it? Why couldn't he just give it to them?
He didn't want to contaminate the Torah with the idolatry of the Jews.
Yeah,
No.
maybe.
He said the Jews weren't worthy of it yet.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let me phrase it this way: What would have happened if Moshe did not break it and give it to the Jews, even though they had?
He froze, Rabbi.
He was what? I didn't hear what you said.
Froze. Say it again.
No, I'm saying what would have happened. Let's assume that Moshe Rabbeinu did not break it. So what would happen?
He was afraid that he was giving it to the wrong people.
No, the thing was like that. If he did break it and he would give it to the Bnei Israel, even though they were worshiping the calf, it would then the covenant would be sealed, and they would be guilty, and they would be destroyed. But since he broke the tablets, the covenant was not completed, so at least they were not totally destroyed. Only have I think 3,000 of them only died, because they were the ones who danced and prayed to this golden calf. Okay, but that was incident number 1.
Then there's the midrash that he didn't break them, that they just became so heavy that they fell.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I guess there are a lot of midrashim.
Yeah, there's different texts and different midrashim on it. Or some say that when, as long as they did not worship the golden calf, so they didn't see that they were worshiping this calf, it really had no weight. It really didn't have much. It didn't have any weight at all. But once he noticed that they were worshiping the golden calf, it became extremely heavy. It fell from him, according to some. Okay, but either way, those tablets were broken, that the covenant was incomplete, so therefore Bnei Yisrael was not totally annihilated. Because what is the what is the punishment if somebody worshipped an idol or a calf or whatever it may be? It's a death penalty. So only those that worship the idol were killed, and the rest of the people were saved. But Moshe Rabbeinu had to spend another 40 days on Mount Sinai to get the second luchos, second tablets. Okay, first thing was they broke the luchos. Okay, in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, what some say is the Nebuchadnezzar's time, when Nebuchadnezzar, the king of the Babylonians, sieged the city of Jerusalem. Some say it's the second holy temple, but whatever it was, it seems like that at the 17th day of Tammuz, they ran out of animals, and they could not go ahead and have the daily sacrifice. Okay. The third thing, the Hofka Ha'ir. Jerusalem has a wall around it, and again, we don't know if it was during the Babylonian time or perhaps during the Roman time. The walls of Jerusalem were breached, and that which led on to the total destruction of the Holy Temple, which would happen 3 weeks later. Now, fourth thing, the Soraf Apostamos Esa Torah. Now, this is spelled Apostamos. He burnt the Sefer Torah. Now, also, I'm sure many Torahs were burnt and destroyed. But what was so special about this particular Sefer Torah that was recorded as one of the things that happened on Shiva Sabbat Tammuz? This was a very special Torah. Who wrote this particular Torah?
Which Torah was it?
It says on Shiva Sabbat Tammuz, Apostamos burnt at the Torah.
What does that mean?
He burnt the Sefer Torah, but I'm sure many Torahs throughout our history have been burnt and confiscated and burnt and destroyed.
The Torah that Ezra wrote, was it?
No, but somebody very special did write it. Moshe. This was Moshe. This was a Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote, and that was the accurate Torah. So if there was any question about a Sefer Torah, sometimes you have a Sefer Torah and it looks like there's a mistake, but you're not certain. So you go ahead and check it. Well, now this is the Chumash. Check it to see is there a mistake or not. It can be corrected. But this Sefer, imagine having the Sefer Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote. This is the Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote. It was housed in the Beit HaMikdash, and if there was any question about any other Sefer Torah, they would look at this Moshe Rabbeinu Sefer Torah to see if it was accurate or not. So that was destroyed. That's why it was so. It really, the people felt so sad that the Sefer Torah Moshe Rabbeinu wrote was burnt.
When was this?
Well, it could have been again. It could have been during the time of the Babylonians, or possibly during the Romans.
But if he carved the Sefer Torah in stone, how could they burn it?
No. The 10 utterances or the 10 commandments, that was in stone. But Moshe Rabbeinu wrote a Sefer Torah. You know that really? Let me see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Let's see. See. Some say, by the way, some maintain it wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu wrote it, but it was a Sefer Torah that Ezra the scribe wrote. And again, that was the most accurate Sefer Torah at the time, and it was extremely important. So, yeah. All right, so it was a very important Sefer Torah, because you have to remember Ezra HaSofer, Ezra the scribe, besides being a great leader of our people, he wrote a special Sefer Torah that was housed in the Beit HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple, and that would be checked for accuracy if there's any problem with any other Sefer Torah. So when Apostamos went ahead and burnt it, we lost that. It's such a precious Sefer Torah. Okay. And the fifth thing that happened, and they set up an image, an idol, right in the sanctuary. Again, who set it up? Some people say that it was set up by the Greeks, others say it was set up by the Romans, but whatever it was set up, and right? You can imagine the disgrace was to have a image of some sort of an idol housed in the holy temple. But all these were 5 things that occurred on the 17th day of Tammuz, and therefore we fast on that day. And by the way, it's not a full day fast. It's nearly a full day because the morning starts so early. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it starts something like 3:30 in the morning. But you could eat this Saturday night, and the fast ends, I suppose, like 9:12 or something like that. Yeah, but it's not a full day fast because only Yom Kippur and Tisha B'av is a full day fast. However, starting with Shivra Sabbatam, the 17th day of Tammuz, until Tisha B'av, what things are we prohibited from doing?
Listening to music, having parties.
True. Having parties, listening to music. That's correct. Or taking haircuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all those things are prohibited. All right. And then it ends with Tisha B'av, that we'll discuss it a couple of weeks, which is just like Yom Kippur. It's a complete day. Okay. All right. Let's go back. Let's go to the Parsha. What Parsha are we reading this Shabbat?
Balak.
Balak. And who was Balak? Okay, Balak was the king of Moab. Okay, now I don't have my art scroll Chumash, but if you have a Chumash, it's the book of Numbers, chapter 22, verse 2. So right at the beginning of the Parsha. And it says, Vayar Balak ben Zippor Issachar saw Israel Amori. Balak saw all what Israel did to the Amorites. Remember Sichon, Melech Amori in last week's Parsha? He was a very powerful king, and he had a powerful army, but nevertheless he was destroyed by Bnei Israel. So when when Balak saw this, what was done to Sichon Melech Amori was done by the Amorites. He was very, very frightened. Because now he felt, if already Sichon, who was considered a warrior and a powerful army he had, a powerful country, if he fell into the hands of the Jews, it's only a matter of time that Balak and his men will fall into the hands of the Jews. So he was concerned about that. But he had a different way that he wanted to get rid of the Jews, and that was through the power of words. And to curse Bnei Israel, and who was the notorious person at that time who was known that his curses really came to being?
Bilam.
Who?
Bilam.
Bilam, yeah, Bilam ben Ba'or. Bilam was a notorious person who was a prophet, non-Jewish prophet, but his curses had power, and that's how, according to our sages, that's how the Sichon Melech Amori, Sichon, the king of Moab, were able to drive out Moab at that time, to take over that area. Okay, but anyway, when Balak saw that, he was concerned, and he went ahead, and it says in the next verse, Moab, people of Moabites were very concerned, they were frightened. Moab really became sickened because of what the children of Israel done, and they were very, very, very concerned. Okay, so if you go to verse 5 now, what does Balak do? Vayishlach malachim el Bilam ben Ba'or Sora, and Balak sent messengers to this fellow Bilam, the notorious soothsayer, to the city of Sora. Ashar Anor, he resided by a river. Eretz Bnei Ammon. Eretz Bnei Ammon, he lived in that country. The call for him, Lemor, saying, We know there's a people that's coming out of Egypt. They cover the whole area over here. But who Yoshimuni, he's resigning. This Bnei Yisrael is right before me. Now I know if already the king of the Amorites, Sichon Melech Mori, fell into their hands, I'm certain we're next. Okay, so, but I want you to help me, Bilam, because you have a power of speech. Whatever you curse, turns out okay. The curse comes about. And that's what he says in verse 6. Be ator now. No orally es ha'omazeh. I want you to come and curse these people. You got some whom men, they're too powerful for me. And I know I can't fight. I will never be able to defeat them in war. But if you curse them, then maybe that'll give me, it'll help me out to go ahead and drive these people out. As I share to all you are. Because I know from experience, but whenever you give a blessing, it comes about. And whenever you curse something, it also comes about. So he says, now I need help. I know, militarily speaking, I don't think I could fight Bnei Israel. That's too powerful for me. But I know your curse might come about, and you'll curse them, and I'll be able to take them on. That's what he thought. Okay, so he's trying, this fellow Balak. Verse 7. Who's name of the name Midian? Okay, the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian went with their, whatever it is, their I suppose certain magical charms that they had in order to help to make sure that Balaam has all these things. By Yavoah Balaam, and they came to Balaam by Yadabru, they loved the brave Balaam. And they went ahead and spoke to him the words of Balak that he wanted him to curse the Bnei Israel. Okay. However, it's not going to turn out so easily for them. Balaam is not just going to go, but he says to them in verse 8, Yomer Alehem, and he said to them, why don't you just stay over, sleep overnight over here? Vashivosi has come to and tomorrow morning I'll give you an answer. Because he assumed that God might appear to him at night. Okay, this time the officers of Moab stayed with Balaam during the night. Verse 9, Vayavo Elohim el Balaam. And when God came to Balaam, appeared to Balaam at night. What does God say? It's Balaam, who are these men who are with you? Okay. Now, if you are Balaam, right, and God appears to you in a dream and says, who are these guys with you? What do you think Balaam would think? What is Balaam thinking now? God is asking, who are these people? So what is Balaam thinking?
He would be embarrassed.
Why is he embarrassed?
Why are you, he's saying, who are these people? Why are you associating with them?
No, just the opposite. Balaam thinks the opposite. Hey, wait, I thought God knows everything. He has to ask me who are these people with you? He should know. So that's why God asked him that question, just to mislead him, as if God doesn't know what's going on. In fact, that's what Rashi says.
But isn't that what when Hashem speaks to Chava in the garden?
Right.
He already knows the answer. He says, where are you, or what are you doing, or something, but he already knew.
So why does he do that? Well, this with Chava, also just wanted to engage her in conversation. Maybe she could go ahead and admit that she's done something wrong. With Balaam, he purposely did it to mislead him, to think that, in fact, Rashi says, but Balaam might say to himself, obviously, if he's asking me, who are these people with you? He doesn't know everything then. And maybe there's times he doesn't know things. If he doesn't know everything, according to the way Balaam understood this, that means I could find the time that I could curse his people and he won't know anything about it. But Rashi says at the beginning, it was just to mislead him. God purposely did it to mislead him, so Bilam should think that God doesn't know everything. That's what Rashi says over here. Okay, so it was just purposely done to mislead him. Okay, and Bilam answers him. On the next verse, he asked me, who are these people? Vayomer Bilam Elohim, and Bilam said to God, Balak and Zippor Melech Moab. These are people that Balak, king of Moab, sent to me. And he even told him what's going on. There's so many people who came out of Egypt, covering the whole land over here. And Balak has requested from me that maybe I could go ahead and curse them, and they will be able to fight them and be able to drive them out of the land. That's what he replies to God. So by Yom him and Bilam, what does God say to Bilam? Lo selechem lahem. Don't go with him. Lo ta'oris kivoruchu. Don't go with them, because really, Bnei Yisrael is a blessed people, and nothing will not be able to curse them. Now, but the so early in the morning, has to reply to these soldiers who came to visit him. Vayakam Bilam Balak, verse 13, and Bilam got up in the morning. Vayom Osrei Balak, he said to the officers of Balak, the noblemen of Balak, the Chualites can go back home. So at this point, Bilam is siding with God, agreeing to do what God said. He said, I cannot go with you. I cannot. God has refused your request. He does not want me to go with you. Okay. So verse 14, Vayakumu Surimrov, and the noblemen of Moab got up, Balak, and they returned to Balak. Vayomer, and they said to Balak, Me'en Bilam haloch imanu. Bilam does not want to come with us. He doesn't want to come. Oh well. So Balak is not convinced. He knows Bilam likes a lot of honor, maybe a lot of money. So he tries it again on verse 15. But also Balak again sends a message, but this time he sends higher officials, more distinguished in the first group, high class soldiers. By Avoa Bilam, they came to Balak, because Balak assumed that knowing Bilam, maybe he feels that the soldiers I sent him were not good enough to have a positive response. So I have to send him a higher group of people, and maybe more he will accept it from these higher ranking officers. And they said to, and the soldiers came to Bilam and said to him, says these higher ranking officers said, Balak and Zippor said, come and do not refuse me this time. 7, and he says, oh, not only that, Bilam, you have to understand that Balak is going to greatly honor you. I said, whatever you want, whatever honor you need, whatever money you want, I'm ready to give you. But I want you to come and curse these people. So now Bilam is going to respond. Vayan Bilam, and Bilam responded by Yomer El Abdi Balak, and he said to the servants of Balak, Imiteli Balak below Beisok Esavazak, even if Balak would give me a house full of silver and gold, Lo Chala Boris Piashem, I cannot transgress, I cannot go against. But God said, Vasos Ketano, the God, small or great, I cannot do this. Okay. But anyway, after a while, he finally he goes with these noblemen and returns to Balak. And okay, now, and eventually he does not curse Israel. But what was the famous verse that he did, that Bilam finally says that is incorporated into our Siddur.
October.
Yeah. Matovu or right. If you go, let me just get it for you. Let's talk about that. Get it there. We're on chapter 24, verse 5. Matovu olech Yaakov mishkanasecha Yisrael. How good is your tents, Yaakov, and your encampments, Israel. Okay, now the problem is like this. Here we have a notorious soothsayer who at least wanted to go ahead and curse Israel, but instead he blessed them, right? So why is it, if he's such a notorious soothsayer, why should we go ahead and incorporate the first verse in the Siddur from what he said? There's no good Nick said this. So what do we learn from it? What principle can we learn from that?
Even bad people have some good sentiments.
Yeah, that if they, even though they're notorious, but if they said something good, we can accept it. So it's a beautiful verse that he said, how goodly are your tents, Israel, talking about our synagogues, or maybe those days was the Mishkan, or whatever they had in those days, the tabernacle, and some sort of, maybe they had certain tents of prayer, and the Torah that they were studying. So it came out that he said that particular thing. So although he was a no good, he really was, he wanted to really curse us, he was first forced to say that by God. We incorporated into our city the first thing that we say in the morning. In fact, I was at a synagogue. I think a lot of synagogues have it, that on the top of the ark it was written that particular phrase. Yeah. Where else, as if you know, where else do you find a particular person who was an evil person did something that I'm saying all, but some people practice it to this very day?
Lavan.
What?
Lavan.
I don't hear what you said, Warren.
Lavan.
Yeah, what about Lavan? Yeah, what he said?
I know he said Baruch Hashem.
No, he didn't say Baruch Hashem.
Yeah, I think that's.
If you recall, Yaakov made a deal with Lavan. He said, "I'll work 7 years for your daughter Rachel." And what does Lavan do? He tricks him. He gives him Leah instead. So Yaakov goes ahead and asks, "How could you do that to me? I worked for Rachel and you gave me Leah." So what did Lavan's response? It's not customary in our country, to give a younger daughter for marriage before the older daughter. You know, now I'm not saying everyone. Some people have that custom to this very day. If they have several daughters, they always want to make certain that the oldest daughter gets married first, and then the next daughter, and so on. Some people have that custom, not everybody. But again, who are we learning it from? From Lavan, a no good Nick. He's a notorious liar. Yeah. Okay. Now, also in Chai Yisar, when at that time Eliezer, remember Eliezer, Abraham's trusted servant, went to get a wife for Yitzchak, and it was Rivka. Now, so Eliezer met with the parents, and they went ahead. Her family, also not Jewish, a lot of worshipers, went ahead and blessed her. You should become a mother of a multitude of people. Coming from these people, Lavan, who's a trickster, and this blessing is coming from him. You know when we say that blessing, we bless the Kala, you shall descend great people. When do we say that?
To the Kala before she goes to the chuppah.
Yeah, that's right. It's done at the Ufruf. Not the Ufruf,
No,
the
Badeket.
when the chassan goes ahead and places the veil over the kala, he mentions that verse. Well, the rabbi will say that verse that Lavan mentioned. Also, not a very good person. Okay, so these are some things that we learn from people who are notorious, and yet since they said something that was good, we incorporated into our customs. There are other things like this. I'm trying to think where else we have. I can't remember. Okay. Now, what else we have here? Okay, but at the very end, what advice does Bilam give Balak? What did he tell him at the very end? What did he do? You want to see that Bnei Israel will be weakened and perhaps they could be destroyed. What was the advice that Bilam finally told Balak? And he did succeed in that many people died because of it. All right.
To have relationship.
What?
To have relationship with the Jewish women.
He said what he tells you. One thing that God doesn't like. He doesn't like, that a Jewish man will have a relationship with non-Jewish women. So he says, send in some beautiful Moabite women into the camp of Israel, and the God of Israel does not like that. And that's exactly what he did. Balak went ahead and sent in many women, and unfortunately, many of the Bnei Israel went ahead and had relations with them, and that angered God, because God likes moral women, and he detests immorality, and that was really happened. And at the very end of the Parsha, there's so many thousands of Jews that were killed because of that. You know how many? At the last verse in the Parsha, on it was a chapter 25, verse 9. Those people who were engaged in sexual relations with Moabite men and so on, by you Hameisimag before a number of those who died in the plague in a plague are all Israel. Oh, look at this: 24,000 people died because of that. Imagine that. But this is what Bilam finally told Balak what to do, and he says, he told Balak, the God of Israel hates immorality. So if you do that, I'm sure you'll be able to do something bad will happen to them. And that's exactly happened. Exactly what Bilam said. Later on, and next doesn't come in this week's Parsha, but next week's Parsha, or maybe the Parsha after that, Bilam wanted to be rewarded by Balak. So, okay, now I want my reward, my monetary reward for what I did. But later on, we find that Bilam happened to be killed. Bnei Israel. It's not next week's Parsha. The Parsha Matos. Bnei Israel had a war against the Moab and killed many people because of what had happened. And Bilam also was slain. Bilam was originally in Egypt. You know that? He was one of the advisors to Paro.
Right. He and Yitro.
Yeah, Yisro, Bilam, and there was somebody else who is an Eov, I think. Oh yeah, and Bilam, I think, was the one who said enslave the Jews. I think Yisro, he fled. Yeah, and one of them was quiet or something. Yeah, that's what they say. So Bilam wasn't our friend at all. He was one who advised Paro enslave the Jews. Yeah. So he was known to giving bad advice. Well, in reference to us. But anyway, this particular time, he gave he advised Balak to go ahead and have Moabite women go into the camp. And unfortunately, because of that incident, 24,000 people were killed. Later on, in the Parshas Matos, you see that Moshe Rabbeinu sends out his soldiers, and they had a war against the Moabites and defeated them. Okay, so that's what this particular parsha is all about. All right. Any questions? Okay, so have a wonderful Shabbat.
All right.
Oh, by the
Have a
way,
wonderful